It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers with Roller Coaster of Love. You're locked on Jyneration Nation. I'm Jyn Yates, your host on LRS102.com, The Walrus. And right now I'm super pumped because you know I love to feature a girl drummer on my show. And we have Mindee Jorgensen calling in from Los Angeles, California. How are you today, Mindee? I am fantastic. And how is LA?
Well, it's pretty hot today, but it's a nice place to be, a nice place to live. Lots of opportunities for musicians.
Well, we love that, yeah. So, Mindee, you are a female drummer. I want to talk a little bit about your career and your inspirations. How did you get your start in music and such? So let's start out by telling our listeners here at LRS 102, we're a rock and roll station, so we love some rock. And I want to know, how did you get your start in music?
I was always around music. My dad was a guitar player, so I kind of grew up around guitars and basses. I started saxophone in elementary school, and then in high school, my freshman year, is when I started drums. I was able to switch to drumline, and I fell in love and have been drumming ever since.
Well, I love that. So drumline, huh? Did you enjoy drumline?
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I did it all 4 years of high school, and I actually also joined like an extracurricular drumline that I did for 5 years. So I basically did drumline nonstop for 5 years of my life.
And what did you play?
Amazing.
What did you play in drumline?
Well, I started on bass drum, and then I also did some cymbals, and then I've done the snare as well. So kind of a mix. I never really played the quads or the toms for anything, but other than that, got everything in there.
Can you do those fancy cymbal twirls? Because I used to practice that all the time with the hand cymbals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to
I actually
swirl them.
loved those. That's
Me
one of the
too.
reasons I went from bass drum to cymbals, because I thought it was just so cool. And I was the head cymbal in that drum line I told you about, so I got to write all of the visuals, and it was really fun. I got really into it.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'm a big fan of drumline because of the visuals. You know, they're the least thing that you should worry about when it comes to learning your music and stuff like that. And I think cymbals get they get digged on a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because the cymbal line, they're always like, well, if you're playing cymbal, you're probably just like starting out and trying to work your way up to a snare or quads or quints. You know, but I think the complete opposite. I think the cymbals are some of the coolest things ever. The hand crash cymbals, obviously, we're talking about for our listeners that know nothing about drumline. But anyway, you know, because you can do all the visual stuff with them. And from a distance with super clean cymbals, that is a really beautiful effect to see when you're sitting in an audience and watching a marching band.
Yeah, and you can also make so many different sounds with a pair of crash cymbals. It's not just like a normal crash. There is so much you could do as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'll never forget when I was playing drum set once, and this awesome old school jazz drummer showed me how you can go around the cymbals like you can a wine glass that has water in it. You know how you take your finger around the top and you can hear different sounds from a wine glass? They were doing that same idea all the way around a cymbal on a crash cymbal on a drum set, and I was just blown away by all the sounds you can actually make out of one cymbal.
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton. I once in classical band got to bow a cymbal, which was really unique sounding.
Ooh, and describe that to us. What is that for our listeners that know nothing about it?
Oh, well, basically I took upright bass bow, and you just kind of rub it along the edge, and it makes a really eerie sound. It was for a piece of music that was kind of like sailor themed, and they were rubbing their thumb across the timpani to make whale sounds.
Wow.
And then the sound that I was making on the cymbal was really eerie, it just kind of like a crescendo of almost nails on a chalkboard, but in a more beautiful sense.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. I love that the drums get to play a lot of the sound effect things. In fact, a lot of people don't know, but drum set players, or drummers in general, were some of the first instruments to ever do sound effects, especially in the old school black and white movies and stuff like that. And that's the reason why we have a train beat. There's a train beat because it sounds like a train's coming. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
We get the coolest, and in fact, I love to play percussion myself. I love theater pieces and stuff like that just because you do get to play wacky instruments. Like in Les Mis, I had to play a railroad tie with a sledgehammer.
Oh,
stuff like
cool,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, you just get to play some interesting things, and it's always just a fun experience. So we gotta love being a drummer for that reason.
Oh yeah, once my job in band was to throw chains on a wooden board to make
Yeah.
a sound effect. So that was fun. Like,
I love that, man. It's super cool. So, Mindee, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What are you doing currently? What do you got going down out there in LA? And I'm curious, what part of LA do you live in?
I pretty much live right in the middle. I'm kind of between downtown Los Angeles and Hollywood in like the Echo Park area, it's kind of called.
Yeah, I
So
love
it's
that. I know where it is.
hectic.
I did spend a little bit of time out in LA doing a show out there called Girlfriend in Culver City at the Kirk Douglas Theater
Oh,
there.
cool.
Yeah, so I was out there for about 3 months living off of Washington Street down near Venice Beach side of it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I
like
know
Venice.
exactly the Hollywood was very fascinating to me for me to see personally, and of course Sunset, Venice Beach, and just the whole shebang. For me, a small town Kentucky girl being in LA was really rocking.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm from like a small city in Iowa, so it definitely was a culture shock moving here, but in the best way possible.
Exactly. Me and David Borman III, who was a musician that was on earlier today, was talking about how LA is so magical, with the musical experience and stuff like that. It was just, surreal walking up and down Venice Beach, seeing where the Doors had hung out, and Jim Morrison, and, where Janice had met her band. And there's just so much musical history out there. It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, I bet.
Every day.
Lucky you. So tell us a little bit about what you've got going on currently. I think you're also in the Women Drummers documentary film, are you not?
Yeah, I will be showing up in that for a little bit. Out here, currently I'm in 3 bands that I'm in kind of full time. I will do for hire work, like session work or fill-ins. If someone wants to pay me to tour, I'm always down if I get paid. And I also give drum lessons out here.
Well, that's cool. Of course, I've been teaching for a long time, so I know all about that. Do you teach privately, or do you teach like out of a music store or something like that?
I teach privately. Right now, 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, I have lessons. And then if the demand gets busier, I usually will add a third day. Kind of just depends. Sometimes because I can't really commit to a school because I tour, and so, I have to take breaks and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people don't realize that, but when you're committed to a 9 to 5, it's really hard if you do get picked up to go out on a tour like that. I've had older musicians in here that talked about they were working 9 to 5s, and then they just got asked to go tour, and then they just quit their job like the next week.
Yeah, I would do that for a tour for sure.
Yeah, that's when you love what you do, that you're a great musician. You know what I mean? Now, how long have you been studying yourself as a student of music?
I've been drumming for 23 years. Music,
Awesome.
I'd say maybe like 30. I did kind of start messing around on guitar at a very young age, and then saxophone I started in 5th grade, and I'm 36 right now. So it's definitely been in my life for a long time, and it's my biggest passion, so I've always just been stoked on music. I love to play, even like I play bass and guitar in a band, and I love that as well.
Cool. Have you ever done any work on any records?
Yeah, I've put out like
Session.
with bands. I'm on a good handful of recordings and
Perfect.
different
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anywhere our listeners can go to check out that work? Do you have like a website set up to where, how do our listeners access your musical journey?
Okay. Well, you can listen to pretty much all of my bands on my personal website, which is MindeeJorgensen.com.
Yeah, and by the way,
Mindee.
yeah, I was going to say spell your name because I had a little bit of confusion with that too. So it's Mindee, Mindee.
Yeah, 2
Right.
E's, Mindee, and then Jorgensen. All the bands I'm in have either websites, band camps, or you find on iTunes and stuff. Mod Podge is one band.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Love
kind
that
of a
name.
fun, it's really fun. It's like an electro, kind of dancey, but still punk band where me and another guy switch off between drums, bass, and guitar. And there's always an electronic beat going as well. And it's fronted by a really talented female singer. And it's just really fun. Like, it gets the audience dancing, which is really fun. And that you can find like iTunes, Spotify, all of the Instagram, Facebook type places. Another band I'm in is like a hardcore, heavy, hard-hitting punk band called Dangerously Sleazy.
I love that. I saw that on your website and I was laughing. Dangerously Sleazy.
Yeah.
What a great name for a band.
I know. I think it's a good name.
What style of music is Dangerously Sleazy?
I say it's kind of like a mix of like old school punk with also like classic rock and grunge and just a whole bunch. But it's definitely like very like driving and hard hitting and like gritty vocals.
I love that.
It's fun. And I love playing hard and fast.
What style of punk, by the way? I'm just curious.
I would like maybe compare it to like Black Flag, but then it does
I
have
love
more
Black
like
Flag. Oh, so like more the West Coast kind of punk.
Yeah, like the vocals are kind of gritty in that style, and we do throw like there's parts where I'm doing like surf beats, or we'll have weird breakdowns.
Super
and we're all
rad.
kind of also really into classic rock, so there's like a influence of that mixed in with the punk energy.
Yeah, I love that. That is fantastic. It sounds like something I definitely would be right up my alley. I will check that out.
Cool, yeah, and we have music on Bandcamp, and we're actually releasing a new EP at the end of August on the 22nd. So everyone should keep an eye out for that because it'll be really good. We're doing a little West Coast, basically a little California tour to support the release.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, congratulations to you. I am a huge supporter of female drummers because I am one, you know what I mean? And growing up in a small town in Kentucky, I didn't have any influences for that other than Sheila E. or Karen Carpenter. You know, I saw her at an early age, but also later on then Cindy Blackman Santana kind of came to the forefront when Lenny Kravitz broke. So you know, when I landed my own radio show on LRS102.com, The Walrus, I was like, I'm going to feature all these cool drummers, you know, not only guy drummers, but chick drummers too, because I've done a lot in the women drumming field, you know, I feel like. So kudos to anybody who keeps the pioneering alive, you know. There is.
Yeah, it's getting more, like, prominent where people are, like, seeing more of them to where half the time I feel like I'm playing equally amounts of shows with female and male drummers. It doesn't seem like it's all male to me and only a few women. It seems pretty equal, at least out here, which I'm really digging. So many to like look up to and be influenced by.
Oh man, I met all kinds of female drummers when I was out in LA.
Yeah. There's a lot of them, a lot of good ones out here. It's awesome.
Who were your main influences when you were starting out? Like, who did you look up to drumming-wise that made you just go, man, I want to do exactly what they're doing?
I feel like even though I didn't really know, like, who the drummer was of these projects or bands, the energy of the music I really liked as a child was a lot of, like, classic rock. So Queen, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Meatloaf, and then I got into Metallica like right as I started drumming, so I went straight for a double bass pedal because of Lars.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I started actually on set in jazz band, so from there I learned about Buddy Rich and really got into him when I first started as well.
Yeah, he's one of the greats, man. What about Tony Williams? You ever pay attention to him since you were into the jazz scene?
I think so. The name sounds familiar, but I'm trying to like
drummer. Look him up. Drummer for Miles Davis. Tony Williams passed away.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, go to YouTube and look at him. He's probably one of the most mind-blowing drummers to watch in the jazz field of all time. And he put out his own record, which I think was called like Tony Williams 20th Anniversary or something like that. But I mean, he's just one of those drummers you can't even find his one when he's playing. He's just mind-blowingly good. There's no way to describe him unless you just watch him. But your jaw will be on the floor the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely know Miles Davis, so I'll check him out. I knew the name from somewhere.
Yeah, Witch's Brew and all that cool groovy stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any other influence? Did you have any female drumming influences? I mean, when you were growing up, who was the female drummers that you looked up to?
Well, I feel like I didn't really, when I first started, like, growing up, wasn't really aware of too many. And then, like, of course, Sheila E. was probably one of the first. And then,
same here, Sheila E.
Yeah, the Go-Go's for sure. And then just kind of, like, I started hearing about them through, like, Lori from Babes in Toyland and Sleater-Kinney.
Oh, man, Janet
There's,
Weiss. Did you just see that she just left Sleater-Kinney? I'm so sad about it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
And
no.
then I think she's in St. Vincent now, right? I think that's the name of her band. But anyway, Janet Weiss, the female drummer that started with Sleater-Kinney, she just made an announcement that she was leaving them, which is weird because they just put out that they were getting ready to go back on tour. So everybody was like, huh?
Wow.
Yeah. So there must be some sort of behind-the-scenes crazy going on.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah, she really is. She's
I'm
one
sure
of my
whatever
faves,
she's
too.
doing now, she'll bring greatness, too.
Yeah, we also had on our show Alice DeBurr of Fanny, who was in the first all-female rock and roll band back in the 70s. And they actually had two female drummers. Alice DeBurr started, and then Bree Howard came on much later on. Alice DeBurr was talking about she actually helped mentor the Go-Go's and got all these other bands from L.A. kind of their start because she worked for a label after that. So we had...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we've had some pretty historic interviews here, historic interviews, as I'll call it, here with some female drummers. So kudos to you. You keep doing what you're doing. If our fans want to tune in and check you out, where do they go? Your website, MindeeJorgensen.com?
Yeah, MindeeJorgensen.com. I'm on Instagram, Mindee Jorgensen, or Mindeana Jones on Instagram, and then Mindee Jorgensen Drums on Facebook.
Wait, did you say
And then I
Mindeana
play-
Jones?
Yeah, that's my Instagram / childhood nickname I gave myself.
I love that. That's the best thing ever. That's your Instagram name?
Yeah, and YouTube. You can find me on YouTube at Mindeana Jones.
At Mindeana Jones. I'm going to so look you up because, I'm about 5 minutes from the Indiana border right here, which I always laugh and say,
cool.
I refuse to go across the bridge unless they pay me because we like to stay on the Kentucky side over here. Nothing against Indiana. I just think it's funny that you're using the Indiana name. You're Mindeana Jones. And it's a take on Indiana Jones, obviously, so it's kind of hilarious. But Great name, man. Great name.
Yeah, my childhood, I guess you'd say, little kid crush, Indiana Jones.
I love that. Well, kudos to you, Mindeana Jones. I love that. I'm going to call you that from now on because it's the coolest name ever.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in on our show today. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate everything you've done in the women drumming field out there in L.A., and you just keep it rocking, girlfriend, and do your thing, you know what I mean? And we'll call in and check in with you from time to time.
Oh, great. Yeah, anytime. I appreciate your drumming as well. I like watching your videos, especially the way you explain stuff, and your enthusiasm is really awesome.
Well, thanks. Drums make me very excited and very happy. In fact, I call it my porn. Like, instead of looking at porn, I just look at drum sets. That's all I got to do. And I just drool over different sets and snare drums and cymbals. And they just get me very excited for some reason. So I also love to teach. And I feel like I can break things down on a layman's term level for people because I do teach kids a lot. So you kind of have to learn how to explain to them things in a certain way, as an opposed to teaching an adult. So I just feel like because of that and my experience with teaching kids for a long time, I can actually explain, how to do things in a very simplistic way because I feel like I'm so detail oriented that you have to look at music sometimes, especially drumming. And, basically every instrument is muscle memory, but I explain muscle memory to my students and I use that as my foundation for teaching because literally what you're doing is teaching 4 limbs to do different things at the same time, right? So if you look at it, very detail oriented down to a science, either you got 2 rights, you got 1 right arm and 1 right leg, and you got 1 left arm and 1 left leg. And you're just basically teaching your body how to memorize patterns. That's all you're doing. So when you look at it from a very detailed and a very simplistic form, it will make it make sense later on when you study that because, basically you're just wanting to learn to get better and you're teaching your limbs how to memorize patterns. That's all you're doing. And then later on, yeah, and that's how I kind of break it down. And then later on, you start to learn musicality and dynamics and, and accents and all these different words for speeds and tempos. And, then you add on all the crazy stuff on top of that. I just feel like I try to explain things in a more simplistic manner, in my videos at least.
Start on the foundation. Also, when you have enthusiasm as a teacher, it's easier to ignite that in your students.
Yeah.
I feel because I'm very geeky and excited about drums, and I even get excited when my students, like when they overcome a hurdle or like reach a new level, I get excited.
Me
like,
too.
For them or
Me too. I'm all about
them.
it. Yeah. Well, Mindee, it's been awesome to have you on the show. Keep holding down Los Angeles, California for us and Hollywood, and keep rocking and all the studio session work and all the bands you're in. And I'm going to check out that Dangerously Sleazy because it sounds right up my alley. And we appreciate you calling in on LRS102.com, The Walrus. You have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you.
You're very welcome. That was Mindee Jorgensen, female drummer in L.A., calling in. She'll also be featured in the new women's documentary film coming out soon in theaters in September. You're locked on to LRS102.com, The Walrus. I am Jyn Yates. Stay groovy. I'll catch you tomorrow.